The camera world just got turned upside down. DJI, the company that revolutionized drones, is about to make an announcement that could completely reshape the mirrorless camera market. We're talking about leaked specs that sound almost too good to be true, a release date that's creeping up faster than you think, and a price point that could send Canon and Sony executives into panic mode. If you want to stay updated on the latest camera developments and industry insights, I'd recommend you to subscribe and ring the notification bell right now. This way, you'll receive notifications whenever we cover new camera announcements, detailed reviews, or breaking news from the photography world. There's definitely more exciting content coming that you won't want to miss. The leaked specifications and rumored features suggest this could fundamentally change how we think about camera manufacturers. For decades, Sony and Canon have dominated the full-frame mirrorless space, but DJI might just have the innovative technology to challenge them both. But here's where things get really interesting. The specs I'm about to share are not just impressive, they're borderline revolutionary. Let's start with the sensor, and this is where DJI is throwing down the gauntlet. We're looking at a full-frame sensor pushing around 45 megapixels. Now, that might sound familiar. It's right in that sweet spot where you get incredible detail without sacrificing low-light performance. Think about it. Wedding photographers could capture every intricate detail of a bride's dress while still maintaining clean images at ISO 3200. Portrait photographers would have the resolution to crop tight and still deliver magazine-quality prints. But the real game changer? DJI is not just putting a sensor in a box and calling it a day. They're bringing their drone DNA into this camera with 4-axis in-body image stabilization that promises gimbal-like smoothness. Imagine handheld footage that looks like you're using a $20,000 Steadicam rig. Think about street photographers who could shoot at 1/15 of a second and still get tack-sharp images. This isn't just stabilization. This is DJI, saying they can out-engineer everyone else in the room. Here's where Sony and Canon should really start sweating. The video specifications are absolutely insane. We're talking about 4K recording at up to 120 frames per second with 10-bit ProRes RAW support. Let me put this into perspective for you. Current Sony cameras top out at 60 frames per second in 4K, and you have to jump to their flagship models to even get close to this level of codec support. DJI is essentially offering cinema-level recording capabilities in what appears to be a consumer-targeted body. Documentary filmmakers could shoot buttery smooth slow motion at resolution that would make Hollywood jealous, and colorists would have raw footage with incredible flexibility in post-production. But wait until you see what they've done with the design. It's unlike anything we've seen before. The leaked images show a boxy cinema-style body with a corner-mounted electronic viewfinder. This is not following the traditional DSLR-inspired design that every other manufacturer seems married to. DJI is clearly targeting hybrid shooters who want something that feels more like professional cinema equipment. Think about videographers who've been jury-rigging their cameras with cages and external monitors. DJI might be giving them exactly what they need right out of the box. The lens mount choice is absolutely brilliant, and here's why this could spell trouble for the competition. They're going with the L mount system, which means instant compatibility with Leica, Panasonic, and Sigma lenses. That's not just smart, it's strategic genius. Instead of starting from scratch with their own lens ecosystem, DJI buyers would have access to some of the most respected glass in the industry from day one. Imagine having access to Leica's legendary lens quality, Sigma's innovative art series, and Panasonic's cinema-focused optics all on one camera body. Canon and Sony spent years building their lens ecosystems, but DJI just leapfrogged that entire process. The color science might be the most intriguing aspect of all, and it's inspired by something completely unexpected. Mark your calendars, because September 15th, 2025 is the date that's been whispered in industry circles. Now, I need to stress that this is still speculative until DJI makes it official, but the timing makes perfect sense. That puts it right before the traditional holiday buying season and just ahead of major trade shows where professionals plan their equipment purchases for the following year. What's interesting about this timeline is that it gives DJI exactly enough runway to build anticipation without giving competitors time to respond. Sony typically announces major cameras in spring. Canon loves their summer releases, but September? That's DJI saying they want to own the conversation heading into the biggest shopping season of the year. But here's what might shock you even more: the rumored pricing strategy. Industry insiders are suggesting DJI plans to position this camera between $2,500 and $3,500 US. Let me explain why this price point is highly competitive against the established players. That puts it squarely against Sony's A7 IV, Canon's R6 Mark II, and Panasonic's S5 II. But here's the kicker. If the leaked specs are accurate, DJI would be offering significantly better video capabilities and potentially superior stabilization at a comparable price point. Think about it from a consumer perspective. You're looking at cameras in this price range, and suddenly there's an option that gives you 4K at 120 frames per second, gimbal-level stabilization, and access to premium L mount lenses. Canon charges extra for their cinema cameras to get specs like this. Sony locks their best video features behind higher-tier models, but DJI might just include everything as standard. This pricing strategy isn't just competitive, it's aggressive. DJI is essentially saying they can offer more advanced technology at prices that force traditional camera companies to justify why their cameras cost the same but deliver less. Here's why this could fundamentally change the entire camera industry landscape. What we're potentially witnessing is the same disruption that DJI brought to the drone market. Remember when professional drones cost $50,000 and then DJI showed up with the Phantom series? Traditional drone manufacturers had to completely rethink their business models or risk becoming irrelevant. The camera industry has been relatively stable for decades, with Canon and Sony trading the top spots while everyone else fights for scraps. But DJI doesn't need to fight for scraps. They've already proven they can enter an established market and completely redefine it. They have the engineering expertise, the manufacturing scale, and most importantly, they're not burdened by decades of "that's how we've always done it" thinking. If these leaks are accurate, we're not just looking at another camera launch. We're looking at a potential inflection point for the entire industry. Canon and Sony have built their reputations on incremental improvements and carefully segmented product lines. DJI seems ready to throw all of that conventional wisdom out the window. The question isn't whether this camera will be good. The question is whether it will be so good that it forces every other manufacturer to accelerate their innovation timelines and reconsider their pricing strategies. But this is just the beginning of what promises to be an incredibly exciting year for camera releases. There are at least 9 other rumored cameras that could completely reshape different segments of the market, and I've ranked them all based on their potential impact and likelihood of success. You definitely want to check out my complete breakdown of the top 10 rumored cameras to see which other manufacturers might be planning their own industry-disrupting announcements.